speeches. The fifth precept is trying to abstain from intoxicants that can cause carelessness and forgetfulness. The sixth precept is trying to abstain from eating at the wrong time, mainly from noon until dawn the next day. The seventh precept is trying to abstain from dancing, singing, listening to music, watching show, wearing garlands, perfumes, ointments, etc. And the eighth precept is trying to abstain from lying or staying on high and luxurious beds and seats. So that is the procedures for taking refuge in the triple gems as well as taking the precept. Today, Dharma Talk Sayagyi's answer a question of a yogi. Dear Bhante, during the past couple of days, I get to practice according to the schedule. So therefore, I feel like I have more times and conditions to be more mindful than daily life. Why practicing mindfulness meditation or trying to keep mindfulness throughout the day during the retreat like this, sometimes I feel stressful because I feel like I always have to direct the mind to the objects of meditations, whether it is walking meditations, sitting meditations, or daily activities, even lying down, etc. And I thought that even if I just want to take some time to relax, then I would lose my mindfulness. So therefore, if I want to relax for a little bit and feel a little bit peaceful and less stressful, how do I do that in mindfulness? How do I relax and feel peaceful or less stressful during the practice without losing the mindfulness? Could you please guide me, or could you please explain to me how to do that? So the answer Sayagyi gave that I understood was, first of all, when a person wants to practice Vipassana meditations, the yogi has to have resolutions or determinations, adhimokha. And this is very important because with this resolution, we condition the mind that during this retreat, we're going to practice. And with this determination will increase the vinaya, effort, energies, as well the vigor of the practice of the yogi. So the yogis say that during the retreat, it's good that the yogi follow the schedule. However, because of following the schedule, the yogi trying to be mindful all the time throughout the entire day, all the activities from sitting, walking, or daily activities, everything the yogi trying to be mindful, and it make the mind feel stressful. So first of all, Sayagyi say that when the yogi start practicing meditations, either the sittings or walking, at the beginning of the day, maybe the yogi should prepare the mind for a little bit. It's like when you go and exercise, you should stress your body before you exercise. So just like that, before the yogi practice sitting meditations or others walking meditation, yogi should prepare the mind. So there's several ways to repair the mind so that the mind would feel a little bit more relaxed and prepared for the contemplations of Vipassana meditation. So the first method is that we are Buddha Anusati, where you are contemplating on the virtue of the Buddha. For example, before the Sayagyis give the talks or before we take the precepts, we always say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa 3 times like that. So the yogi could do the same like that. The yogi can recite the names of the Buddhas or the virtue of the Buddha 1 to 3 times or up to 3 minutes. It's up to the yogi. And after that, the yogi can send metta or recite the metta for yourself as well as for your relatives and blessed one. For example, you would say, "May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May my parents be well, happy, and peaceful." And just like that, you can share metta not only for yourself, your family, your loved ones, but you can share metta to all beings from all over the world. And after sharing metta or contemplating, say it's reciting metta like that, the yogi can continue to watch or contemplate on the 32 parts of the body. So when we are contemplating on the 32 parts of the body, then we actually contemplating the bodies, how not beautiful it is. Normally, when we don't practice or we don't know about the Dharma, we take this body as beautiful. We take this body as a permanent. But when a person know how to contemplate, and when you pay attention to the body and dissect the body into different parts, specifically 32 parts of the body, then you will see that this body is actually not beautiful. And that is one way for the yogi to train the mind to gain some concentration. And the next method that the yogi can contemplate is contemplations about death. We all know that we all have to die someday, sooner or later, one way or another. Death is for sure. We all have to die, as our life is very uncertain. Our life is very unstable because we don't know when or how we will die. But death will come for sure. So the yogi can contemplate on death, and we see the urgency why it is important for us to practice vipassana meditation so that we can eradicate all these defilement in the mind. So that way, Sayagyi just names a few methods for the yogi to prepare or start stretching the mind in a way before the yogi actually start the vipassana meditations. And please keep in mind that vipassana meditations is the method or the best method to treat the mind. So the other one, it's just like Sayagyi gave the example, when you are sick, you go to the doctor. And if you just sick for a little bit, then the doctor will give you some medications, and then you can take the medications and feel better. But then when you're very, very sick, and in order for the doctor to completely cure you, sometimes they would have the surgery. And just like that, vipassana meditations is the method for the yogi to remove, to eradicate all the defilements in the mind, namely ignorance, delusions, greed, and hatred. However, the Buddha, or when a person practices vipassana meditation, is completely go against the mainstream. It's very different from what we know as our mundane life. So in this mundane life, we like to follow our craving. We like to follow our things that are beautiful, and we like to be happy. We like to be peaceful. We like to be relaxed. But then we follow all that with this craving in us. First, it's very good, but after that, we have to pay the consequences because we follow all these things with ignorance, with delusions, with greed, and with hatred. And at the end of the day, we have to pay the price by wandering throughout the cycle of death and rebirth, the cycle of samsara. But when a person practices the Buddha teaching, which is go against the normal teachings or the normal understanding of the mundane life, then the person first would have to endure a lot of suffering. For example, when a person practices vipassana meditation, there's a lot of painful feelings would arise during 1 hour of sitting, and so on and so forth. So with that, but if you can endure through it, and then you'll be able to practice and see through it. At first, it might be suffering, but by the end of it, towards the end of the journey, when the practice become better, you progress and there's wisdom arise. When you reach the final stage of nibbana, then that would be the ultimate bliss and the forever happiness and blissfulness. So if we follow the teachings of the Buddha, it might be sufferings at first because it's go against our normal or daily understanding, but at the ends of the road, it would be the ultimate liberations, the ultimate bliss. So when a person practices vipassana meditation, what is it that we contemplate? We actually contemplating, or the Buddha taught the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The first foundation is watching, contemplating the bodies in the body. When the person contemplating the body is in the body, the person should be able to realize that this body is actually a sopa, which is unbeautiful. It's not beautiful. It's actually very dirty. It's very unpleasant. But because of our ignorance, we took this body as beautiful and pleasant. and we're trying to do our best to pay attention and take care of this body. So, and then what about the feelings? Contemplating the feelings in the feeling, then the person will see that there's a lot of unsatisfactory, there's a lot of unpleasant feelings arise in this body. So for example, when a person sit for 1 hour, imagine how many unpleasant feelings arise during that time. So when the person see that, then person will see that, oh, so this feeling, when the person practice vipassana meditation, there's a lot of unpleasant feelings that arise, and we have to see that, because normally during our daily life, we only like to be happy, we only like to be peaceful, we only like to be relaxed. We do not like to be or feel unpleasant, feel stressful, or feel others negative feelings that are arising. But in fact, it is the nature phenomenon that's arising when we contemplate the feeling. What about the citta, the mind? When the person contemplating the minds in the mind, the person should be able to contemplate the characteristics of the mind in terms of anicca, which is impermanent. One time now the mind is actually listening, another time the mind would be seeing, and another time the mind would thinking. And the mind, when it's think, most of the time the mind does not stay at the present moment. It's conditioned by the futures or by the past. So therefore the mind is always fluctuate or wandering around without knowing anything. And when the person see that, is see that this mind changing from one moment to another is not permanent. So we can see that that is anicca, impermanent. And what about the Dharma? All the Dharma, this body is the Dharma, is mind is the Dharma, what's inside the bodies and minds is the Dharma, what's outside the bodies is the Dharma. And when we see this Dharma like this, then we will see that, oh, this body is unbeautiful, is unsatisfactory, and is anicca, impermanent. So therefore is anatta, non-self. Nothing has a self in it. Everything is non-self. Everything is just natural phenomena happening in this on its own when the conditions are fulfilled. And there's nothing that you can control about it. So therefore, there is no I, there is no self. So when a person practices vipassana meditations, the four foundations of mindfulness, if the person see things in that way, the person will see that, oh, things are just that way, and these are just natural phenomena. And when the person understanding it or seeing that way, the person will change from the wrong thinking to the right thinking. And this right thinking will lead to the liberations, the ultimate bliss. So, but in order to have this, it will take a lot of effort, and it take a lot of practicing. And when we actually see this, when the person sit and the person see, oh, this body is so not beautiful, or there's so many unpleasant feelings arise, or this mind is changing from one another. Sometimes we become frustrated. Sometimes we become stressful, or even scared of it, because it's go against what we normally know. It's go against the mainstream understanding. And because it's go against like that, we tend to do not like it. We want it to fit to what we know before, because our mind is so full of ignoring, greed, and hatred, and we're so used to it. So now when we clean it up, then there's these reactions in the mind. So Sarichi gave the example like when a child get very dirty and the parent would like to take the baby for shower, and the baby would hate it because the baby does not want to be showered. It does not want to be clean. It just want to keep the way it was. And it can have some kind of reactions and not wanting to go shower. But the parents still want to take the baby to shower. And after get showering, the baby even it get clean already. And sometimes the baby doesn't even know that it's actually is good for the baby. So just like that, right now, when a person practicing vipassana meditation, there's a lot of maybe stressful feelings that arise and not feeling so relaxed, because now the mind is being trained again what it's used to be, and it's being cleaned out of all these defilements in the mind are being cleaned under under sati, mindfulness, and under the comprehension. So therefore it's having all these reactions. And when all this stressfulness and all these reactions arise in the mind, Sarajee's asked the question, do you have you ever considered, is it a true stress? Is this stress is a true phenomena, or is it just only the reactions of the mind against whatever that is, against sati, mindfulness, against all this training that we do? And another example that he gave to illustrate this point is that in a mundane life, when a person wants to have a good physical health, the person would go to the gym and exercise. And when you go to the gym and you exercise, of course, you have to endure all this physical hardness, and you have to endure all this physical pain, as well as a lot of sweat and a lot of hard work. But the thing is, you know that after doing like this, then your body would get better. Same thing, just like that. When you are training your mind with mindfulness, with tying the mind, direct the mind to go back to the present moment, the mind does not want to do that. But if you, at the end of the day, when the mind get trained, then the mind will get better and lighter, and less wandering and be conditioned by the past or the future. So therefore, it is important that for yogi to develop the right attitude as well as the right effort and energy, so that we can push through all this. And Sarachi also mentions how the yogi can practice to make the practice more relaxing for the yogi. So for this method, we are trying to direct the mind to the abdomen and watching the risings, falling of the abdomen. So when the yogi practicing vipassana meditation in the sitting posture, then the yogi should be relaxed. First of all, yogi can stress the mind or prepare the mind by contemplating on the virtue of the Buddha Anusati, contemplating on death, sharing metta, so on and so forth, like he mentioned earlier. And after that, the yogi would sit very comfortably, very relaxingly, and then just trying to pay attention to the risings, falling of the abdomen. And at this time, we do not want to breathe very vigorously or very harshly. We want to breathe in a very normally. And as breathing in, the abdomen rises, and we would take notes or label rising. And as breathing out, the abdomen falls, and then we would take notes of falling. So we do this very naturally. We do it very relaxingly for both bodies and mind. We do not try so hard to force the mind or force the body to be stiff or force the mind to be stressful. We just notice, simply noting. And simply noting is the work of sati. When there is sati arise together with the mind, sati, mindfulness, will remind the mind to stay at the present object, whatever it is that most obvious. Just like that, when sitting or when observing the risings and falling of the abdomen, if there is any thinkings happening in the mind, if the mind wander into the past or the futures, or if there is any feeling of stressful, unpleasant, not relaxing feelings arise, then all you have to do is just simply notice it, be aware of it. Don't worry about it or don't try to do anything about it. All you have to do, if thinkings arise, then you notice thinking, or if unpleasant feelings arise, then you will notice unpleasant feeling, and then simply just go back to the risings, falling of the abdomen, or the breathing in or breathing out. So that way, the yogi would be able to practice very relaxingly, and it's not putting so much stress on the meditation, where you try so hard to capture everything. You capture as much as you can, whatever that's most obvious at the present moment in the bodies and in the mind. And Sariji say that, of course, right now we all learning how to train the mind. And the first warning for everyone that want to practice Vipassana meditations is that the practice of Vipassana meditations is to see the suffering, to understand the suffering. And it's not because we want to suffer. It doesn't work that way, because Buddhism or the teachings of the Buddhas is the middle way. We do not want to indulge ourselves, nor we want to try to suppress or oppress ourselves. So, and when you so much indulging, then the mind is very loose and is filled with all this defilement. And when you're trying to oppress or trying so hard to trying so hard to keep the mind, trying too hard to practice, then that is not the right way either, because it's make the mind very stressed. This is the middle way where we trying to do is according to our practice, according to our conditions. And remember, when we practice vipassana, we want to see the suffering so that we can understand the suffering, and we can be able to get rid of, eradicate the suffering, not to see it or to hide from it or to run away from it, but to understand it. So therefore, when all these things are happening in the bodies and the mind, the yogi have to tolerate and have more virya, energies and vigor, so that we can penetrate through that. And Sayagyi gave the example that when the Bodhisattva first became the Buddha, and he realized there's four noble truths, and the first noble truth is the truth of our suffering. There's so many different kinds of suffering. And he realized that, and he thought that, oh, the Dharma that I just realized is extremely profound. It's very difficult for people to understand. And even no matter how much I try to explain it to them, it's going to be so hard for them to understand. Why? Because it's go against their normal thinking. It's go against the mainstream understanding, the normal view, the normal perceptions of people. And because of that, the Buddha thought maybe I shouldn't teach this Dharma at all. And just because of that, when that thought arrived, the Maha Brahma, the very high Brahmas from the highest realms of the heaven came down and begged the Buddha, oh dear Lord Buddha, please do not neglect us, please share and teach the Dharma. And the Brahma gave the example that, dear Lord Buddha, when you look at the lotus in the pond, then you see that there's four different kinds of lotus that in the ponds. So the first kind, the lotus are deep under the mud, and these kind of lotus, they cannot bloom at all. And then the second kind of the lotus is that they a little bit over the mud, they just came out of the mud, but then because they still so deep under the water, all the turtles, all the fish would be able to eat the lotus, so it's not going to be able to bloom at all. And then the third lotus that is come out of the mud and is come near the water, but it's still under the water. So these lotus still need time for it to come out of water and to bloom. And the fourth lotus, the fourth kind of lotus is that the lotus where it's already came out of the water is only waiting for the light to bloom. So the characteristics of the lotus, Sayagyi said that it will not bloom without the sunlight. So the Dharma of the Buddha, or the Dharma that the Buddha taught, we just consider or like the sunlight. So for the people who already have all these paramis, conditions are fulfilled or well enough, they just all they have to do is just listen to the Dharma and practice the Dharma, and they realize the truth. But for people who are deep under the water, are not ready to listen to the Dharma, of course, when they listen, when they hear the Dharma, when they practice, they will have all these resistance, because it go against what they normally know. So just like that, Sayagyi encouraged the yogi that whatever that happened when the person practices vipassana meditations, if there's all these sufferings or unpleasant feelings arise, we try to endure it, and we try to have more effort so that we can continue to practice, and so that we can realize the truth. And Sayagyi say that from history, like up until now in history, no one ever died practicing vipassana meditations, or no one's ever died practicing meditation. So the yogi does not have to worry so much. There might be painful feelings, but this comes and it passes away, and just like any other thing. So if we just want to practice, then you will get through all this stage. And no one ever died practicing meditation. And Sayagyi make the joke that even if the person actually die while practicing meditation, that person actually have a very high stage of concentration or high stage of practice. And normally those people, we worship them after they die. So again, we practice meditation so that we can, first of all, understand or see or realize the suffering that the Buddha taught about, the suffering that different from what we see from the mundane life, the suffering that actually is the true in everything. And after that, we're trying to eradicate, or we want to get rid of craving, or craving, because craving is the direct cause to all these suffering. And this cravings is the cause to the cycle of death and rebirth, the cycle of samsara. And why we want to do that? That when we can eradicate craving, and then we would see that life is suffering, then we want to continue our practice so that we can reach the ultimate goal, the ultimate liberations, or the ultimate bliss, which is nibbana. So basically, that is just that is why we should practice vipassana meditations or follow the Buddha teaching. And when the yogi feel stressful or feel not relaxed during the practice, then the yogi should remember that just simply noting or labeling whatever is happening in the body, whatever happening in the mind, and try not let thinkings arise so much in the mind. So if the thinkings arise in the mind, try to note it right away. Thinking, or comparing, or wondering. So that way the mind would be able to go back to the present moment of the most obvious objects. And if the yogi feel very stressful during the practice, then the yogi should try to practice while lying down. And Sayagyi say that out of the 4 postures, sitting meditation is the most the most benefit posture, because it requires a lot of virya, effort, and it will give you the best benefit for your practice, because it's easier to develop concentration, is better, and when concentration is there, panya, wisdom, will arise. And then the second posture that is good for the practice is walking meditation. So that's why during the retreat we alternate from walking and sitting 1 hour after another. And the third posture would be standing meditation. And the last posture is lying down meditation. So when you yogi lie down, it's very relaxing, because our body in a lying position, and the yogi can try to observe the risings, falling of the abdomen as well as the breathing. However, because in the lying position, it's easy for us to fall asleep. So if the yogi feel very stressful or not relaxed, the yogi can practice lying meditation for maybe around 5 minutes, but shouldn't be more than that, because if more than that, the yogi might fall asleep during the meditation. And just remember, when we practice, and the Buddha teachings is the middle way, we do not try to relax. At the same time, we do not try to force our body as mind too hard. Everything we just simply noting, remind the mind to stay in the present moment, knowing what's going on in the body, what's going on in the mind. And it's just simply noting. And when does yogi be able to do that way, yogi would be able to release all this stressfulness that the yogi feel, as well as keeping the mind outside, or keeping the mind away from all these conditions of past or future, or worrying, or sorrow or remorse. And Sayagyi just encourage yogi to just trying to be very ardently and wholeheartedly, and that is, I want to practice, and I will practice according to my conditions, and just simply noting whatever's going on, and just let sati do the job. So that's all I have for today's summaries of the translation. Thank you so much for listening. I wish everybody have a good night and a wonderful retreat. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Dạ, cảm ơn sư cô đã giúp phần thông dịch. Cảm ơn sư cô nhiều lắm. Good night.
Thank you, host. Good night.